Warns GOP on verge of massive self-sabotage. Former President Donald Trump's own newspaper issued a scathing indictment for the GOP on Friday, saying the party is headed for a massive impeachment. Copy published by the New York Post. Rupert Murdoch's News Corporation. Enjoy me now. Former Republican Congressman Red Rebel of Wisconsin was part of a bipartisan group of former lawmakers who have called on the Office of Congressional Ethics to investigate sitting members who on Jan. 6 and he played a role in all the events that followed. By January 5 and clean up the attached capital. So your response to these criminal references from the Republicans is saying it's a political ploy? Do you think it's for the Department of Justice to get these thousands and thousands of pages? Opens the door, maybe millions of pages. The documentary evidence that the committee has obtained over the last 2 years is very important, and now they're going to have access to all that information. As was the president. Only seek advice from a lawyer. Donald Trump News. And it's not criminal to take advice from Tony, but we still have other lawyers. It will be interesting to see if this results in members thinking about their roles on January 6 now that the media has referred it to the Ethics Committee. I am surprised. What do you make of that decision? Do you think it was the right one, or do you think maybe it's the wrong one? Because of course, wrap me up here soon, and there's nothing that's going to happen. Because Congress is about to end so soon, it is only part of the document to be put into the congressional record, and yet they all refused to come to the other side of the story until they could have come before the committee and given whatever side of the story they could, and they chose not to. And so I believe the reference must be important that happened, but we are not. It's not naive to understand that it's not like they've had anything happen as a result of just not having the time and talking about the time, because the Republicans are, of course, and I'm taking control of the House in January, as I have mentioned. 15. Read more. Trump's 2024 campaign so far is an epic act of self-sabotage. 6 Republicans were going to serve in Congress have cast doubts or denied altogether 2020 election. I wonder if you'll meet me or don't think this could be the end of accountability. Trump's favorite newspaper, or what happens next? You have a lot of legislators coming. The office or office bearers who questioned the outcome of the election vote if that's what the voters want to hear, but none of those people actually believe it. Trump's favorite newspaper warns GOP imitating him, saying what he needed to tell the voters to get him to vote because that's what the voters wanted to hear, but yet none of these people actually believed him because they were on the same ballot. And so the reality is that the issue is that they're saying whatever they have to say to get elected, but they don't really believe it, and Donald Trump didn't let on. I don't believe he knows that that election have lost, and many members of Congress know it. That election fears that Joe Biden was elected president in 2020, and that's why the midterm elections didn't turn out the way Republicans saw it, because they looked back rather than not talking about this administration. Live what they are talking about. Investigations, and it's not going to start again for chicken with independent voters. Do you think former President Trump is now the party when you think about the fact that there are Republicans who have been more vocal in criticizing RA after the midterm losses? All the nonsense that went on for years under President Trump with insulting your Gold Star families and insulting POWs etc. that he had to lose, that the Republicans will not tolerate, and President Trump lost many of his candidates lost statewide, and the Secretary of State candidate lost, and Republicans don't cater to losing, and I think President Trump is getting weaker and weaker by the day, as we talked about Republicans promising to do things that they don't. What you just talked about was focused on the kitchen table and had focused on policy. Instead, he was talking about how he would have his own investigation into how wrong it was when he couldn't control Congress. Is that a mistake at all, or do you think that's the right direction? And so I think they need to work on the executive branch oversight that they do. But if that's all they talk about, they don't talk about inflation, or they don't talk about Jackson, they don't try to do anything about these things. It will just be old news, and at some point, the American people just tune it out and turn it around. Brushed it off and said they need to be forward-thinking and do whatever investigations are going to be done, but then go ahead with governance. Ex-Congressman